Thank you for joining us for another episode of Uncontested Investing. I'm your host, Nate Zielinski, joined by my co-host, Suzanne Andreessen. And today we have a great episode for investors. We're continuing the marketing and deal sourcing theme, and it's how to build relationships with wholesalers and brokers. This episode can really help investors. I think it's extremely prevalent when you're talking about finding a home for a deal or a property that you have your eye on. So let's talk about the importance of these types of relationships, Suzanne.
Well, it's certainly, the only way that you're gonna be able to unless you have cash, the only way you can source an asset is through, your broker, and I think it's important that, you really have a good symbiotic relationship. They understand what you're looking for, the terms, they can work with you thinking outside the box. So some of the best things that you can do is really get in front of that, really develop that prior to even making the offer.
Yeah. And what brokers and wholesalers can do is essentially they open up so many possibilities. As you mentioned, it's that access to funding, right? These brokers are tapped in, they're partnered up with probably multiple lenders at a certain time. So if you bring them a deal, chances are a broker can find a home for it, right? They have options that best fit your investing needs, and they can find the best home for the deal. They have resources as well, right? They're getting trained up by these lenders, all the different programs that they have. So really you can trust when you sign on with a broker that they have your best interest at heart. They don't get paid unless your deal closes. So that incentive is there and that ability to foster a relationship with financial backing is there as well. It's a win-win.
And it's okay to challenge them on, on the I'll say the initial approval. It's not just a cookie cutter. You say, "Well, that's not really what I was looking for. I was hoping more for this." And it's a give take engagement. And I think that, you don't have to accept the initial offer back from them. Make sure it works for you because ultimately you have to be able to pay off that loan, and no one wants to take that deal back.
And what investors can do to mitigate some of those conversations is be upfront about your investing goals. Let them know what you're looking for, the type of numbers you're looking for on a given loan, what you're comfortable with paying. All these things matter so a broker can be best equipped to find the right home for your deal. And there's success stories all across the country. I know we both travel to trade shows everywhere, and we can attest that investors in every state are partnering up with brokers. Really, it saves them so much time and energy from an investor perspective. It frees you up to do so many more things with your career when you have a broker going to bat for you on the deal specifics. As long as they're prepared up front, the investor can spend their time much more wisely in other areas of the industry.
And they can source your customizable approach to that. They'll say, "Okay, no, I here's what I have. Here's what you're looking for," and they'll as long as you keep coming back to them, you build that repeat business and that
Yep,
partnership. Your loan comes to the top of the stack, and they're always constantly fighting for you. But treat them with respect. Make sure that you value them as much as they value you.
yep. And again, we want to define the wholesaler and the broker. They kind of act as the middleman within the deal. They help the transaction operate so much more smoothly. So when you're an investor, you find a deal, you send it to a broker on your behalf. They've already done their due diligence. If they're a broker worth working with, they've done their due diligence. They've done their homework with the lender. They know what deal to send where. And then once they have your buy box and your preferences, they're able to speak on your behalf. They're able to send back a term sheet, and then the onus is back on you as the investor. So it's up to you, as you mentioned, whether or not you want to agree to that deal that they offer you, but at least they give you a head start and save you a lot of time. As an investor, you can be finding other properties to send them, managing tenants at properties that you already own, fixing a leak or a repair somewhere. So an investor's time is extremely valuable, and a broker can give you some of that back.
But they'll also know, what your history is and how you like it. They'll say, "Okay, I know this is Nate's 5th deal with me. This is usually how he likes it. This is how much with the percentage down." Whatever your
Yep,
terms are that you're comfortable with, he'll start sourcing those automatically for you and almost create your pre-approval as you start going out and buying more assets for your portfolio.
exactly. That's one thing an investor should be aware of. The more you work with a specific broker, the better that relationship gets. The more they understand you, they know your preferences. You guys know what to expect from each other from a timeline perspective. So if it doesn't go necessarily perfect on the first deal, obviously there's going to be some red flags we'll talk about later in the episode. Maybe that specific broker is not right for you, but give it some time. Let the relationship work itself out. And over the long term, that's when you'll really start to see those benefits.
And they'll go for bat for you. Like you said, they don't get paid unless it closes,
Yep.
and so it has to work for both parties.
Yep. And part of a successful broker is an investor that puts in the time as well. So the investor can make this relationship better if they're willing to put in the energy, willing to have those conversations and let them know about all the details. They can also share contacts, and they're the ones that are providing the deal flow, right? So the more active you are as an investor, the more eager that broker is to help you close deals. If you're going to send a broker one deal a year, chances are the success rate might
Bottom
be
of the
low.
pack.
Exactly.
It's
If you're sending them 10 a month,
Yep.
that's a whole different ball game. You become that broker's premier customer, and pretty much their business runs through you, and they want to cater to what you need first.
And they'll come out to you and say, with the rates, I've been fluctuating nonstop for the past 3 years. They'll just say that. But that, your broker say, "Hey, Nate, I just want you to know that this is what happened today. If you do this, we can lock it in." So they start sourcing the funding for
Yep.
you. You may have a deal that you haven't even shared with them, and all of a sudden now they're bringing you a term sheet for a whatever deal, and all you have to do is fill in the address. So I think it's like again a symbiotic relationship can be very successful.
I think the best investor broker relationships are the ones that evolve into partnerships, right? They're on the same page, they're working together, they're achieving a common goal rather than just sending over a deal and hoping it closes. There's so much that can be gained from forging that long-term relationship. I think finding and connecting with these brokers and wholesalers is one of the most important things an investor can do. And who would have thought the best place to do that is at networking events, online platforms, real estate meetups, LinkedIn and Facebook. So right then and there, you're just going to these types of events with like-minded individuals, and a broker and investor has the same goal at some of these events. They want to close more loans, they want to help more people, so it's the best place to find them.
And there's some we've talked a lot about different organizations to join. There are several funding organizations like the National Private Lenders Association that you should consider, going to their meetings. You get a chance not only to go there and hear what's going on, but also meet several brokers. And maybe one of your brokers isn't lending in the state that you want to buy in. So you meet, it's okay to
Yep.
source the second partner.
Yep.
But this is a great way for you to engage with a lot of folks.
For sure. And then, when you're introducing yourself, always make that positive first impact. Don't be afraid to practice some of these conversations, right? If you're an investor, a broker is going to want to vet you right on the spot, ask how many deals you close, where you lend in, what types of properties you're looking to invest in, how many properties are already in your portfolio. So if you're sharp and you have these answers already practiced and you know what to say when talking to a broker, that first impression is going to go a long way. And a broker knows, okay, they're serious about the industry. They already have properties in their pipeline. This is a person I want to work with. They're going to, I guarantee you, they'll follow up with you before you even get home from the event. And they'll say, when can we start working together?
But this will even help you, establish a line of credit with them. It's really proving your stripes.
Yep.
Is the best way to put it. And I think if you show them that you're dedicated, they will return that same dedication back to you.
Yep. And as an investor, it's always important to be to clarify your lending criteria, the investment criteria, I should say, what you're looking for, because then you'll see that the broker will start working for you. Hey, I remember we had that conversation last week. You're really interested in duplexes down in Florida. I just found three. Do any of these match what you're looking to do? And now, as an investor, you have another lead source because a broker knows they can't close deals without you. So why not send deals and be proactive? And that's when you found the right broker.
And these could be off market deals too. Those are the hardest ones to come by. And he may have an inside track on some of these. And again, it's really the purpose of the partnership.
Yep. Building trust and credibility. We've kind of moved our way into this part of the conversation, but as you can see, there's definitely some initial stepping stones that you have to do to get that relationship started off on the right foot. But then over time, it's building that trust and credibility. Uh, Make the broker know that you're in this as well. I think we talked about making that a partnership. It can't just be a one-way street. So if you guys are both mutually benefiting from the partnership, the broker is more apt to answer your calls, answer your emails. And once loans start to close, that's when the trust and the credibility starts to seep in pretty naturally.
Well, and make sure you're responding in a timely fashion. If they've, sent this out, I need this document or can you sign this? 3 days shouldn't go by
Mhm.
without even responding. Or, if you can't get to it, say, I'm not in the field. Like, I don't have access to my computer right now. Give me 5 hours. I'll do it tomorrow. But, return the commitment back to them and show them that you are dedicated and that you'll get to it as soon as you can.
I think that's super important. A broker is not one to waste time, right? There's no empty contact. If they're reaching out to you, it's because they need something. So again, the onus goes back to you as an investor. The only way you're going to build that credibility is if you're responding in that timely manner. picking up whenever they call because it's most likely, more often than not, to move the deal forward. So as an investor, the last place you want to be is the one stopgap in that deal, right? You're holding up the progress, you're holding up the transaction. Always be responding when a broker is reaching out to you.
And share some, tell them, explain to 'em what some of the successful deals were. This is what I really liked about this transaction. It did this, this, and this, and that's what I'd like to see moving forward, on the rest of my opportunities and acquisitions. So I think if you let them know, thank them for the job well done, and
Yep.
here and this went smoothly, and here's what I liked about it, and then you can say, and here's what I'd like to see done differently as
Yep.
well. It's a give take, but if you're open, and honest and transparent, I think that's the best way to really develop the
Yeah.
relationship.
I think scheduling meetings or calls following a closed loan is a great way to keep that moving forward. And like you said, don't be afraid to have those tough conversations. So if something didn't go the way that you wanted to as an investor, you maybe paid a little bit more than you thought you were going to have to. Any questions you have, a good broker worth partnering with in the long haul will be happy to sit down and answer all those questions. Some they may have solutions for, some may just be the nature of the business, but you never know it unless you have those tough conversations. So as an investor, don't always reach out or follow up after good deals. Follow up after the bad ones as well to try to rectify that and get it right the next time.
Would follow up after every deal. Provide positive feedback at the same time. I think everyone likes to hear thank you. And I think it's appropriate to do that
Yep.
and say, I look forward to the next transaction.
Yep. And I think respecting their time, it kind of goes back with the response time. I think that's super important, but respect their time, right? Don't be overly pushy as an investor. Yes, sometimes deadlines need to be hit and you can be a little bit more urgent, but you always want to be respectful of their time because again, if you're working with a great broker, chances are you're not the only investor client they have. So they're going to get to you when they get to you. They know the deadlines just like you do. So it's an important nuance when you're having these conversations. Yes, make your intention known, but don't be overly pushy. Don't be overly aggressive because a broker may just say, okay, I have a lot of investors. What do I need you for? So handling those conversations the right way is important for an investor.
And don't cry wolf. You can reach out and say this is urgent, but not every transaction has to have an urgency like that.
Mhm. So for investors forging relationships with brokers and wholesalers, I think we're off to a great start. We're going to take our first break of the episode. Stay tuned though. Suzanne and I have a lot more to discuss on this topic. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
See you soon.
RCN Capital offers flexible loan programs designed to help wholesale partners close their clients' deals faster. From fix and flip properties to long-term rentals, new construction, and multifamily investments, we provide your clients with the funding solutions they need. With competitive terms and a quick approval process, we make it easy to focus on growing your business while we handle the financing. Learn more or apply today. Click the link in our bio or email info@rcncapital.com. Let RCN Capital help take your wholesale deals to the next level. Welcome back to this week's episode of Uncontested Investing. Suzanne and I are discussing how to build relationships with wholesalers and brokers. And our next topic is maintaining these relationships and nurturing them. So it's an asset in every investor's wheelhouse. We already talked about not being overly pushy, but scheduling regular check ins. That's extremely important. It just doesn't have to be deal scenario based. Having a call with your broker once a week, twice a month, whatever it may be, is extremely important so they know up to the minute what your goals are and what you're looking to get out of this investment space. Another tactic is sharing useful market info or even referrals, right? If you have another investor that's just getting started in the industry and could use an extra set of eyes, could use an extra few hours in the day, hook them up with your broker and that relationship can go both ways. But if you're providing value to the broker, you'll see it back and the broker will provide value to you as well.
That's no better compliment than giving a referral.
Yes.
One, you're building his book of business, but it shows that you value him all in the same, and he'll do the same with you. It's a quid pro quo, and I think that it's a very healthy thing to provide referrals. And we talked about having drawing a blank testimonial. We
Mm.
talked about having a testimonial, and it's no different than having a referral. They go hand in hand. It's really compliments thanking them for a job well done, compliments their business ethic, and thanking them for helping you move the deal forward.
I think this threshold will be different for every investor, but there can be a certain time and point where you're talking to a broker and you're deciding, should we collaborate on this deal? Should we be partners going forward? I think once you've done 10 or 15 deals, the broker is kind of learning something from you. you're kind of learning something from the broker. So to go after different types of properties, bigger properties, making a little bit more return on that investment, partnering with a broker could be another way to success in maintaining that relationship. So during those check-ins, maybe when you're talking every, couple times a month, say, Have you ever had any interest in investing yourself? What does that look like for you? Are you just interested in staying a broker? If so, that's fine, but you never know until you ask.
Sure. And how about, taking that two family to a four family? You both win on it.
Yep, exactly. And lastly, it's going to be using CRM tools to keep track of contacts and communication. This is huge. The last thing you want to do is go through a successful transaction, be working with a broker. Maybe it falls off for a couple months, maybe a year, but you're looking to rebuild that relationship, but you don't have their most up to date contact info. So you're always going to be want to checking in, always tracking contact information. Have more than one, right? Have an email address, have a phone number, maybe have their LinkedIn account as well. You're always going to want to have ways to reach out to these brokers. So if for whatever reason there's a lapse in the partnership, you can always pick it back up by reaching out and saying, "Hey, you know what? I know we fell off a little bit. I'm reinvigorated. I'm reinterested in investing again. I could really use your help." You're always going to want to restart that relationship, and that broker will take that to heart and say, "Oh wow, they actually remembered me. I thought they forgot about me." That's a way to really nurture and maintain a relationship years into the future.
And sometimes the broker changes who they're affiliating with as well.
Mhm.
And so it gives you a chance to make sure that, here's what we did in the past, the things moving forward, any new ideas that you have for me. So I think it helps just to keep things, alive. A
Yeah.
check in is always beneficial.
I will say too, without stepping too far into it, uh, be aware of their personal life as well. If you're following them on social media or LinkedIn and something big happens, congratulate them on life events. Be invested in them as a person, not just as a business partner. That goes a long way with making sure that relationship lasts 1 year, 5 years, even a decade. As long as you want to be a successful investor, if you're invested in that broker as a person, that relationship continues to grow.
Of course it does.
Avoiding common mistakes, something we always like to discuss no matter what the topic is. I think first and foremost for every investor out there, avoid being unclear about your budget or your criteria. It's okay if you wanna change it as an investor, but a broker should be the first person you let know of like, "Hey, I know we've worked in the past and I've really been interested in single family rentals or duplexes. I really wanted to get into commercial investing though. My strategy has completely pivoted. Is there any way that you could still help me?" Always be upfront and always be updating where you are and what you wanna get out of this industry so the broker can best help you.
Well, and the market has been changing forever, and sometimes, and we've heard that, the single family rental assets are few and far between. So maybe you do to go to a duplex or a multifamily, or you consider, storage space or parking garages.
Yep,
Or even mobile home parks. We've
yep.
touched on that a couple episodes ago on find the next thing that makes sense for your portfolio, but certainly bring your broker in right at that onset.
Yep, and then pressuring them, obviously, if you're gonna be too aggressive, that's an immediate turnoff for brokers in this industry. There's investors popping up almost every day. Someone new is getting into the real estate industry, I would imagine, right? So you have to treat these relationships with respect, always be courteous. Again, we've talked about it. There's a time and a place where you can kind of step up and be a little bit more assertive in your conversation, but being overly aggressive is something that we're always going to want to try to avoid. And then lastly, it's ignoring the smaller players. Everybody started somewhere, even you yourself as a broker. I'm sure in this industry at some point you had no one in your contact book, you had no deal prospects, and look where you are now. So the same can be said for brokers. If somebody shows that initiative, wants to work with you, wants to help you, always give them a chance, right? Don't be turning away a potential new partner because you never know that next broker that you hire could be the best thing that happens to your investment career.
Well, and think of what benefits being a mentor to somebody could
Yep.
be. You really have the opportunity to share what you've learned, and they may teach you something, believe it
Mhm.
or not, even though it's like the younger kids with their computers and technology. They're certainly teaching me
Yes,
stuff these days.
yes.
So, look at it as an asset and not as a complication.
It's that pay it forward mentality. We've seen so many successful CEOs, owners of companies, presidents of companies. They've graced the studio at Uncontested Investing and they've shared their insight and how they got to where they are. So that mentality should be at the forefront of everything you do as an investor. Any industry professional that embodies that goes far and is successful in this industry. It's pretty clear to see.
And it's a good compliment, to have someone reach out to you to ask for help. they actually want to learn from you, and that is a compliment.
Yep. And the most successful thing an investor can do in this industry is experience longevity. Not only one good year or a few good months, but decades of real estate experience, a portfolio that they can leave for generational wealth for their family. Some of the most successful investors have been at this longer than I've been alive. So, when you're talking about the potential to have someone help you for that many years, you're really leveraging long-term success with these partnerships. Consistent partnerships lead to that steady income, and everybody wins when that's the case.
But also that helps you learn how to weather the storm.
Mhm.
They're not everything, you've got highs and lows, and some lows are lower than some of the highs, but it'll even out, and you have to be able to, withstand that and find a way to move forward in a positive way. And I think, this is a terrific industry. It's an industry that's never boring. It's
Yep.
always changing, but change in some cases is good.
And when you're leveraging these relationships for long-term success, the broker is going to start negotiating better terms on your behalf. They're going to know what you're thinking before you even say it. They're going to get some feedback from a lender. And after a while, they won't even need to ask you if you like this term sheet. What do we need to change? They're going to know in advance, and they're going to bring a tailored term sheet that's perfect for your investment needs. And it just flows that much quicker. You're closing so many more deals each year because you've taken the time to foster a relationship like working with a broker.
Well, how about they show up and say, "Nate, I just want to let you know that the rates dropped X amount of point today. And I know that we're considering a couple of properties. Maybe this helps make the decision a little quicker for you." They may help you close a transaction that you didn't think you were quite ready for, but today financially it made sense
Yeah.
to do so.
Yeah. And last but certainly not least, an investor and a broker working together, it's mutually beneficial because you can expand both of your networks, right? You both have industry professionals that you can recommend. For an investor, maybe it's other investors that you can refer to a broker. For a broker, maybe it's a lender or a title company, a general contractor that can help make an investor's life easier. So, not only the relationship between the investor and broker, but expanding your network is a way that both parties can win in this scenario.
Absolutely.
So there you have it. That's a pretty comprehensive episode. Once again, investors forging relationships with brokers and wholesalers. It's how you win big, and it's how you win long term. So thank you so much for joining us today on this week's episode of Uncontested Investing. Same time, same place next week. We'll see you there.
See you soon.
Thank you for listening to Uncontested Investing. Questions about today's episode or the podcast? Email podcast@rcncapital.com and make sure to follow REI Inc. magazine on LinkedIn and Facebook, and RCN Capital on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you all next time.